Hi, it's Nicola Bird here with the Little Peace of Mind podcast, bringing you a completely fresh, new understanding to help you find freedom from panic attacks, anxiety and stress, and experience peace of mind from the inside out. So today I've got James with me here on the Little Peace of Mind podcast. And James, I wanted to invite to come along to do this episode with me because it was actually about a year ago that I created and set up a Little Peace of Mind. And I ran a pilot program very early on. And then I could see the results that clients were getting really quickly. I kind of ran it as a pilot to begin with because what I had seen for myself had changed my life so dramatically. But I still had a sneaking suspicion that it can't be that simple, right? That I must have been a fluke, that something must be, don't know, somehow I'd got lucky. I wasn't 100% confident that sharing just the simple things that I'd seen would actually make a difference to anyone. And so I started a small pilot group, and I could see really quickly within a matter of a couple of weeks that people were starting to see things they'd never seen before and hear things they'd never heard before. And, you know, it was starting to make a difference to people in a way that I was like, right, I'm going to open this program up to more people. And I ran a webinar and to share what it was that I'd seen and some of the results that people were getting already. And then I opened up for questions at the end of that very first webinar. James put his hand up. I don't know if you know this, James, but you're my first Q&A person. Wow. And James put his hand up and he said, and this is my memory of it, James, so you'll correct me if I get this wrong, but you said, and I'll ask you to share a bit more of your story in a moment, but you said, the thing that I thought was causing my anxiety, I've just realized it isn't. And that it's me. It's me. I've been creating this problem and there isn't one there at all. And it was just, I love the sound of someone having an insight. And that was just brilliant, hearing you talk about that on that call. And you know, I've been enrolling clients into my program ever since, and you've been such a sort of stable member of the community and helping people out and supporting them on the way through the whole of this year. And so I just think you've got such a cool story to share, which is why I wanted to get you on the podcast today. So hello.
Hi.
I say it as if I've never spoken to you before. Do you want to, for people who don't know your story, and some people, I know we did a little video earlier this year, so some people might have heard a little bit about it, but we'll presume people haven't. Do you just want to share, to start off with, like where you were before that webinar? I'm not even sure, like, had you come across this understanding before you bumped into that webinar?
Yeah, I had. I'd come across it through just scouring the web, I think it was. I'd spent a lot of time with different kind of techniques, CBT, the usual kind of route. And it was just, I was getting nowhere. And I went on the internet, and I don't know how I found it, but it was almost just like, I can't do this anymore, or how can I just not do anxiety? And just something came up, which was headed up as, I think it was like just 5 simple truths. Don't know where it came from, but it started to point me in that direction. And there was a Sydney Banks link, I think it was. And so that just kind of got me onto that route.
And what was your, just before we get to the next bit, what was, just to give people some context, do you want to just describe a little bit about how your anxiety showed up for you, like how it showed up?
Yeah, so it started from moving house.
How long ago was that, James?
That was May 2016. Yeah.
And before that, nothing, right? Absolutely nothing before that. And then
no, I mean, having learned more about me and having learned more about this understanding, I can see that I've always been a busy thinker. I've always been a bit of a daydreamer. times I've always been up creating stuff. I've never really been aware of what I was doing as such on a day-to-day basis. I've just never really noticed it. So I guess it's always been there, but it wasn't a problem.
Right.
It wasn't a label where it's like, oh my God, I can't actually function. Just I spent a lot of time in my head, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an apartment, we had a 1-bed apartment. We'd been in there for quite a few years. We'd tried to sell it for quite a few years as well, about 2 or 3 years it was in total. And we wanted a house. We wanted to get a house, get some more rooms to put all this stuff that was currently at like a storage place that we just accumulated over the years. And so we sold, and we found this house, and it was just down the road, and it was, it was 3-bed, it was detached, it looked ideal, like everything we wanted, the place where we could start family, turn it into a home, kind of thing. So we sold the apartments. We took a hit with the apartment. We thought it doesn't matter because we're going to get this house. It's going to be great. It's going to be perfect. And we moved in, and the house that was in the same village that we live in, that we lived in with the apartment, and it was on a road, and it was never a concern, this road. And it's the main road that runs through the village. And we viewed that house so many times, to make sure it was the right thing to do, the right place to go to. And then we moved in, and it kind of started out initially of the house just wasn't right, and it's an old house, and it's got things like it's got a wonky floor on the landing, things that you don't notice no matter how many times you view, things that you just don't notice. And you start walking along the landing, you felt like you're on a ship kind of thing. And I remember the first day was like deep clean day, like let's just get it all cleaned and sorted, and Rachel, my wife's mum, came round to help as well. And that's when we just started spotting like little bits of damp and little things that we hadn't seen before. And wow, this house is maybe a little bit wonkier than what we thought. And I guess that kind of worried me initially, because we'd borrowed and we'd put so much into just getting this house. And it's like, it doesn't matter because we'll get it sorted and it'll be fine because we've got what we were looking for. And it just started to worry about that. And then just at some point, probably within the first week or two, I started picking up on the traffic going past the house. And I remember it was just one morning where I decided I was just going to just sit in the kitchen and do a bit of work before I went out and went out on like visits and stuff, work stuff. And I just started hearing the cars. And at that moment, it just suddenly became a reality of, oh my God, this noise doesn't stop. This isn't stopping. Is it ever going to quieten down? And then the more I was listening, of course, the more I could hear. And then it almost became kind of unbearable. And it sort of it started from there, to just constantly being in my mind. And then I couldn't sleep. I would come home and I'd be listening. Like, is there anywhere that it's not noisy? Is there anywhere that can sit where it's not gonna make me feel uncomfortable? And so that kind of blended with a wonky house and a couple of problems, just became just a massive bout of just anxiety and worry and panic. And what am I going to do? and more of like, what have I done? Why did I not spot this massive problem outside my house that's always been there? So yeah, it spiraled out of control from there. It went to sleepless nights. It went to really just not being able to be in the house. I remember there were moments of waking up in the morning, and the first thing I had to do was get out of the house. You know, I would have to get up, get some clothes on, get the dog, and go for a walk. And all the time, this panic, this complete panic, just overtaking me. Of get out of the house. You've got to get out of the house, and just dry mouth, pounding heart, head just racing, and I just get out of the house, get into the field with the dog, and there'd be times sometimes I'd just be in pieces, I'd just be in tears, just didn't know what to do with myself. Complete just like overload of everything happening at once, and just be there. You know, there were times I'd have to just ring somebody, just ring my parents or ring someone and say, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what's happening, kind of thing.
It's so unusual yet so familiar, like your story, right? Like I know that there are other people that have come into our community saying sound in particular is a problem for them. But when you were sharing, it's almost like you could have told exactly that same story about someone with health anxiety. So it's like I was fine, and then one day I noticed this thing in my body, and then I looked and I saw it was there loads, and I couldn't escape from it, and it was out of my control, and it felt like it was just there all the time. And the more I noticed it, the more it was there, and then it kept me up at night, and I was worrying about it. And even when the circumstance changed, so even when you were out in the field, even when the physical symptom fell away, you were still in a situation, like you were still in a situation where you were feeling anxiety, even though the thing that you thought that was causing the problem actually wasn't there at that point in time. Isn't that interesting? So you're in the middle of the field, you can't even hear the traffic from there.
Yeah.
But the thought of having to go back, and the thought about being stressed about the traffic, and the thought about what you're going to do about the house. So even when it really looked like it was the traffic, even when the traffic wasn't there. Same for me with my migraines, right? So I created 24 hours a day of suffering about migraines, and yet probably 16 hours of my year were taken up with them. But 24/7 of my time was spent suffering as a result of migraines, even though I wasn't actually even having them.
Yeah, I'd be running the sound. I'd be running it all the time through my head, just like you say. It would be running at work. I would be picturing myself just at home, listening for it. It kind of, just like replaying a soundtrack. It was just replaying a repetitive song constantly, and building up, thinking, I'm going to have to go home now.
But it's funny because it looks like in that situation, it looks really clear that it is the traffic outside the house. So it is the traffic, even though we don't even notice the fact that when you're miles away, like when you're traveling for work or whatever, like the traffic isn't there, but you're still stressed. You still think it's the traffic that's one, if there wasn't any traffic, there wouldn't be a problem. And when we have that experience of anxiety, when we explain it in that way to ourselves, like mine was caused by migraines. If I didn't have migraines, I wouldn't have been scared of migraines, right? So it really looked like the migraines were causing my upset and my anxiety, or the fact that I had to go, someone was asking me to go and drive on a motorway or whatever. And when it looks like, see, for you, the problem was staying in the house. For me, the problem was going out. But when it looks like the thing that causes the problem is outside of you, then the only place you have to go for solutions is trying to change that circumstance, right? So you've got to sell the house, or you've got to do something to make the traffic be quiet. So you've got to wear earplugs, or you've got to, move house, or you've got to,
you know, you've got to tackle those circumstances. And me, it was like, I have to change where my kids go to school. I'll have to get childcare to pick them up after school because I can't go out of the house to get them. I'll have to only see my parents once a year because my husband has to drive. I'll have to, you know, like I would change all the circumstances to try and minimize the anxiety. I mean, I guess that was your situation as well. It's like the only thing you have when it looks like it's outside of you is to try and change the circumstance because you think that's the trigger.
That's right. So it was using earplugs at first. I mean, I'd used them at the apartment before, just because there was noise sometimes with people just walking past her apartment and stuff. So I always got a good night's sleep. So I was used to using those, but the difference here was that I would put the earplugs in, but my brain would still be listening for the sound. And so I thought, no, these haven't worked. But even when, the same thing as the field, even when the earplugs were in, my mind was still running the sound. It was still running it. And there'd be times I'd get up in the morning, I'd be walking around the house with the earplugs on because I knew, because I was getting so mixed up with it, I knew that as soon as I take them out, that's it, I'm back in hell. Yeah, back stuck with it.
And how long, so that was like 2 years then that you were living like that before you started to get some different understanding and perspective about what was going on?
It was...
Or a year?
Yeah, about a year, probably. I joined...
Yes,
April, May, I think it was. But yeah, it was a long time. It must have been 7 months at least, maybe 8 of different things. And yeah, I don't really.
So do you want to explain to people listening, just in your own words, like what you heard that was helpful? Because it felt to me like you got a big jolt of insight and then lots of little insights unfolding from that point forward. But I could have got that wrong. But tell me what your experience was like. What have you heard that's been helpful so anyone listening to this who traffic might not be your thing, or migraines, or going in or staying out or whatever, but whatever your thing is, whatever your looks like it's causing your anxiety, it's like the insights that any of us get are kind of helpful for all of us because they're usually insights into the truth about how all human beings work. So if traffic and sound isn't your thing, keep listening, because what you're going to hear, my guess is, James talk about is stuff that he's seen that was really helpful to him that will also be helpful to you.
Yeah, the main thing before I kind of met you and was that through all of this, my wife didn't react to the noise at all. That was kind of the only thing that sort of kept me going. Because I thought that it can't be the traffic before I even came across this.
But that's even worse, James, then, because that's the same with me. I was like, I knew that it couldn't be motorways, right? Because everyone else seemed to be able to drive on them. So then the only conclusion I had left after that was me, and I was broken.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what other conclusion is there to come to? If everyone else can get to the school gate and pick their kids up without breaking a sweat, then there's a problem with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I knew that there had to be more. I knew there had to be more to it. When your wife's just laid next to you in bed and she's fast asleep and sleeping through, and you're not, and you're running around from bedroom to bedroom just trying to find somewhere where you can actually settle. That just kind of almost sort of kept me going. That there has to be more to this. It can't be that big a deal. So, and then so here's, as you mentioned yourself, and that first webinar that I jumped onto, that just made so much sense. It was kind of from there that everything started to change, and I don't remember exactly what I said, or even kind of what you were talking about. But there was just a moment where it was something like, if you've got a scary feeling, you're having scary thinking, and that was kind of the big game changer for me. I literally just felt like you said, like what? So I've just I've basically just made all this up, and it's just sat in here. It's just sat in my head, just running a program about traffic, kind of thing. And that reset feeling was just literally like everything was just powering back up again. It was like if you watched Indiana Jones, the old Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, and he's in a room, and he's in the room with a kid, and there's a spiked roof coming down, and it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
All that the woman in it needs to do, who's outside of this chamber, is just pull a switch, and then everything will just reset.
Right.
And the spikes are coming down, and like they're almost in, and it's like they're touching his heart. And then she gets it and she flicks it, and then all of a sudden the music, like big music, comes on, and the spikes come back up. It's like that kind of feeling, like, oh my god,
yeah.
Wow. And I was just, I was just on a whole different kind of place from that evening.
Yeah.
I think I got off the webinar from you, and I was like, right, that's it, Rachel. I'm signing up to this. I'm getting on this program. This makes so much sense. I can see where it's all coming from, and I just completely just elated with it and smiling again and happy and just wow. And that was the big one. That was the big sort of game changer. And then staying on the program, staying in the conversation, just started to unravel, like you say, just little bits and pieces as I went through.
So what else have you seen that was helpful? So first of all, you started to see that, just for people, maybe this is their first podcast. So starting to see that it was, that it was internally generated, that it was the pain and the suffering was being created by you inside your head, kind of thing, rather than it wasn't coming from the traffic.
Yeah. So knowing
and then kind of seeing, I guess that's an example. It's hard, isn't it, to put an insight into words. It's more that the feeling you describe was the feeling of insight, right? And who cares what it was that you saw, because that's what always does the heavy lifting. But it's just fascinating to people. I know there'll be people listening going, yeah, but what did he see? They'll be rewinding. What did he hear? And I guess it's more like, for me, that kind of speaks to the fact that sometimes we suddenly see that that not all of our thinking is to be believed in some way. Like for me, that's such a huge thing to see, is that not all of my thinking is truthful or real or fact. Like I get suspicious of my own thinking.
Yeah, definitely. With that, I then suddenly saw, so that's why Rachel's sleeping.
Yes.
Because she's getting the same experience, she's experiencing, but she's not paying attention to what's coming in. With that particular thought, she's got something else. Not fazed by it. So that just like, wow, well, that just makes sense. There's just this thought, and I guess what I learned more about was just thought itself, and just how it is temporary, how it does shift.
Yeah.
And how it just created the whole feeling in the first place, because not intentionally, but I just grabbed it, latched onto it, and said, right, that's it, moving house.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. But then noticing that actually, it does change.
Yeah.
I think there were times then when I started to go, oh, it's quite quiet here today.
Yeah.
Or, I've not actually been thinking about the traffic.
That's the big one.
Yeah. Oh, but I am now.
Yeah.
Now it's a problem. Ah, right. Yes.
Now it's a problem.
So now it's a problem. But it wasn't 2 seconds ago.
I so when you're talking, I so see the parallels with the whole health anxiety thing, right? It's like, my knee is really aching and it's a really big problem. And then after a while, you start to realize that your knee only aches and is a problem when you're thinking about it. And then, like you say, you remember, well, hang on a minute, before I was walking the dog and I didn't think about it at all and the pain wasn't there. But now the pain is causing me anxiety and I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Even just noticing that simple thing, right? It's only ever a problem when you're thinking about it.
It is.
That is huge for any life situation. I know that I've seen that over and over again in my business, for example, with my kids. It's like 99% of the time it isn't a problem because I'm not thinking about it. And then the minute the minute it pops into my head and I start ruminating about whatever it is, noticing it, ruminating about it, it becomes a problem. It's not that there's a problem there and I've just noticed it. It's that I'm actually creating a problem through the very act of ruminating and thinking about it.
Yeah, I can see it more now. It's just how I do just whirl stuff up.
Yeah. Innocently, completely innocently. It's not like you, I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, she's a stupid woman, you've just done it again, right? But more or less, it's I'm kinder on myself because I do know that it's totally innocent. It's just we don't see it. We don't see that that's what we do all the time as human beings, is we walk, especially if you've got anxiety, right? You walk around looking at things and creating problems out of them. But we're creating the problem. It isn't that there is a problem out there that we're accurately seeing. That's the difference. We think there is a problem with the traffic. There is a problem with my knee. There is a problem with my kids. It's just that I happen to be thinking about the problem right now, right? But there is a thing that is a problem. And then, but to see that there isn't a problem there but for our thinking is a total game changer, because like you said, our thinking shifts and our thinking changes. So something that's a problem in one moment just vanishes the next.
Yeah, it does.
Like it doesn't need a solution. It's not like one minute my kids are badly behaved and the next minute they're really well behaved. It's like the thing that I think is this big problem with them just vanishes and is no longer part of my thinking in that moment. Doesn't need a solution. I didn't need to calm myself down and find a solution. It's just there was never a problem there in the first place. It's crazy.
Yeah. You do just hang on to. I think there were other things. Just for me, it is really hard to kind of explain the experience with this traffic sound, and to put it into words. Other things that I came across, I went through a phase, I think all linked to anxiety, where my ears were just ringing all the time. And eventually got had a hearing test, nothing wrong with my ears, and then saw the ear person, who probably has a more technical name than that. And she just explained how your ears work, how your listening works. And she said, it's not your ears that are doing the listening, it's your brain. And again, like from a completely different side, there was an insight there of, oh my God, my brain's doing the listening. So my brain's picking out that sound, and that habitual sound. It's picking out that sound. It's made it habitual, and that's what it's doing. It's not my ears. It's nothing to do with my ears.
Yeah.
And clarified again why when I wore earplugs, I was still playing.
Yeah. Wow, that's so fascinating, isn't it? That it plays out in a physical way. Because again, we know from the Facebook group, there's a lot of people who say, well, I've got all these physical symptoms, but the doctors say they're all related to my anxiety, because there's nothing actually physically wrong with me. But I have this problem, and this might be sore throats or headaches or whatever, a whole list of kind of physical complaints. That actually, you're right. That's, again, a lot of it is an internally generated. Everyone's sensible and goes to the doctor and gets it checked out, right?
Yeah.
And then when the doctor says, actually, there's nothing physically we can find wrong with you, then it's got to be an internally generated experience.
Yeah.
And the reason that's helpful, if you're listening and going, well, everyone's told me that my head aches, there's nothing wrong with my head, but my head still aches, and why is that helpful? It's helpful because when you understand the fact that thought changes, then you start to be able to consider the fact that your headache or your problem with the traffic doesn't have to be permanent, because your thoughts aren't permanent.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that fact, and you think it is a permanent problem because it's caused by the traffic or it's caused by your headache, and it doesn't look like that's going anywhere, then if you believe and you think that it's a permanent problem and you're stuck with it always, then guess what you get to experience. But if you start to realize the transience of thought, the fact that it does shift and change, and as it shifts and changes, so does your experience, then then you start to see that there's no situation or circumstance you ever have to experience the same way all the time.
No.
And that opens it all up for grabs.
Yeah, it does.
Because there's always the possibility of having a completely different experience of the same thing. No exceptions.
No, none at all. Because it's the same thing happening outside my house every day, more or less. And the only thing that changes that experience is me.
So what's your experience? What's your experience now?
It's just overall totally different. I mean, yeah, there are still times when I wake up and I'll go like, oh, God, I can't do this. It's doing my head in.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And then I'll almost kind of just think, oh, yeah, but it wasn't doing that. You know, just saying it wasn't doing that yesterday.
Yeah.
It was not yesterday. So, oh well, here we are. Get on with it, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the big, the amazing kind of big changes is just. Sometimes it is, a lot of the time it is like we have moved house, like it's quiet. It's like I've tuned into it. You know, there's talk about there's all these different waves out there, radio waves, mobile phone waves and everything like that. It's almost like there's that sort of traffic wave that I've tuned into now, and it's fine because I've just realized that it wasn't a problem. It's just something that was happening, and it just passed. And just like the thought of it being temporary and it moves and it passes, the traffic is temporary, it moves and it passes, and then the silence. And it was again, it was only becoming a massive kind of revved up problem when I'd hang on to that sound that had gone past.
Yeah.
And made it into a big deal.
What a great metaphor. that traffic actually is, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think you mentioned it once on a call as well, that same kind of thing. But it is when, as soon as I stop hanging on to it, it doesn't become a problem. And the weirdest thing that's kind of happened probably within the last couple of months is there are times when I'm going to bed and it's like, it's going to sound strange, but it's like it's the ocean. It's like waves just going past. And it's almost just settling.
Same noise, completely different experience.
A different experience. And it's fascinated me, you know, to have gone from a place of complete terror, of feeling like stuck, imprisoned, to seeing just how many different experiences I can have throughout the day of it, right down to I'm at the seaside kind of thing.
Yeah, I just think that's so cool. And I love what you just said then as well about, I'm just going back to it because I just think it's really powerful. You know, that where I'm sitting now, I can hear the cars going past. Now you've made me think about it, right? So I can hear that. I never normally notice the cars going past, but now I can hear when the cars go past. And I live on a really quiet road, so the cars go past. And you're right, the noise is actually audible for a couple of seconds. But you can hang on to the thought and the idea of that car and the noise for 10 minutes, right? Maybe if you tried really hard. And if you didn't realize that wasn't optional, like I could sit here and think about the car that just went past and think about it and think about it and think about it and continue to experience whatever my thought is about that car in the moment. And we can do that with any thought. We can do that with thinking about whether we're going out or not. We can do that with thinking about our anxiety, thinking about the anxious behaviors we have, thinking about panic attacks. It's like for everybody else, the car just drove past and it went 5 minutes ago. But you're not letting it go past. You're like sitting there hanging on to it and replaying it and replaying it and replaying it. And you don't have to do that.
You don't. You can just let it go past.
And then along comes another one and another one and another one. And that's the flow of traffic. That's the flow of thought. That's just the way it works, right? And then you get to feel each one as it comes past as long as it's there. And then it's gone. And I just think that's so incredibly hopeful when it feels like you're stuck with the same thinking forever, which can be what happens with anxiety. It's like you just have the same thoughts over and over and over and over and over again. And we kind of indulge them and all the rest of it because it doesn't look like we have an option. But it's not an option as in, so next time you have a thought, you must stop thinking it as soon as you can, which isn't kind of, if you're listening behaviorally or if you're listening for an instruction, that might be what you're hearing. But it's a strategy, you know, you have a thought and then you must drop the thought. It's more that when you understand that thought is naturally transient, when you understand that it's not coming from your circumstances, when you understand that the worst that can ever happen is a thought that you feel, the understanding of that is what allows, it's like it frees up the traffic jam and the cars start flowing again, right? And they sound like an ocean rather than a really noisy revving car traffic jam going past your house.
Yeah, totally.
And what's the knock-on sort of impact been for you in your work and relationships and all that kind of thing? Like, where's it, you know, if we think we're 8 months on now, like where's it left you now? What's changed in terms of, you know, how you enjoy life now?
I just enjoy life so much more. I sleep. That's the biggest. I mean, I know for everyone that I've met, you know, on the group and everything, the sleep thing is such a big thing. Because if you're tired and your mood is lower, the whole world's against you. Always is. So to be able to sleep through pretty much anything now before, you know, go to bed. We went to bed over Christmas. I think we went to bed at like 9 o'clock one night, and which is unusual. And I slept right through till 8 in the morning. You know, and nothing's changed outside, as we said. Nothing's changed, but slept because brain had just kind of switched off. And that's I mean, that's another thing I kind of noticed. Like this realization of your brain's doing the listening. It's like it switches it off.
Right.
And when you stop paying attention to the thought that's creating it all in the kind of first place. Other stuff, just relationship wise, happier. You know, Rachel was tearing her hair out with me at times.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, just didn't get it. She's very just kind of no nonsense, get on with it kind of thing.
It's so hard. For people, like, it's so hard for people around you to understand why it's such a big deal. It looks like it's really like, just get over it. What most people that I know, that's what their spouses is like. Everyone always says to me, it's like my spouse gets this understanding anyway. They're really laid back, they're chilled out, nothing really seems to bother them, and they don't really understand why this is such a big deal. Like, we should just be able to get over it.
Yeah, and she just kind of kept me going because that is how she operates. She's an example of how we work, because she just moves from experience to experience to experience. And you know, aside from the program, I'd watch her and see how she works, and that would kind of help clarify it. So yeah. So
I think just on that note, I think that's really, there's something to be said for that though. Like if you watch, not from a state of, you know, judging yourself in comparison to, but if you watch how anyone who looks like, and we're all struggle and get ourselves stuck in various places, right? But if you look at someone in a particular area of life, or someone that kind of looks like they've got that act together, or you look at a small child, failing that, your dog, right? No offense to Rachel, right? But like, otherwise you could look at your dog. And you can just see that when thought is transient and left to its own devices, and it's not front page news, life just is so much more effortless and easier for the person or the child or the dog than it is for us who's stuck and tangled up in our thinking all the time.
Yeah, must sort it out.
Yeah.
Totally. So change that. Just more back to me. You know, I went through a phase. I love just having fun. And cracking jokes and meeting people and getting to know people, and I spent all those months of just shut away, lost sense of humour, lost personality. Well, thought I had, just very, but yeah, personality, sense of humour, it all gone. I felt broken at the time, because I didn't understand what was going on. So all that's kind of come back, and feel more like I can just be me, but almost like with like an upgrade, because you know. Being at work or just around people or just walking down a street or driving, everything just feels different. And watching other people's experiences and having like so much more of an awareness of just how busy-minded people can be that I'd never seen before. And it's not not even not like everybody says, oh, I've got anxiety. I can just see that anxiety was just a lot of busy thinking, and actually everyone does it, and I can see that. I can almost kind of spot people that when I'm talking to them, they're not there. They're in the head. They're not listening to what's going on, or they're trying to work it out, or they're trying to jump in with an answer or finish my sentence for me because they're not paying attention. So that's been a huge kind of change. That's changed the whole way I work. That changed the whole way I get to kind of meet people and get to know people, and almost when I can see that they're busy minded, just a little bit of a talk around, that's just you busy thinking, changes just the whole kind of conversation and the whole sort of relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Because you get less engaged. I think when you understand more about thought, you get less involved. Instead of engaging like thinking to thinking, when you understand more about the nature of thought, I think you can connect at a level that's underneath all that.
Yeah.
So instead of like someone, at work, if someone comes up to you and they're all stressed and worried about a problem, and then you get worried because it looks like they're stressed about something that might actually be true, and both of you engaging in some messy, gnarled up, busy-minded thinking and trying to, and then from that space, both of you trying to resolve what looks like a real problem, right? But it's just a whole different kettle of fish, because the person comes up to you and you can see in a heartbeat that, in the same, we can see it with our kids, right? So like if my daughter comes up and she's screaming and crying about something that's happened at school, like I don't get all carried away in that thinking. Like I know that when she calms down, it's going to look different. So, kind of I'll aim to calm her down as much as I can, and then we can take a look at the problem. And we all know that at some level, that's just common sense. But that's why it's common sense, is because we don't need to engage with that thinking to thinking. We know that that's a transient state of mind. We know that there's something on a deeper level we can connect with. Like we all have that built into us, that knowing and that understanding.
It's almost waiting for that reset to kick back in again as well. And to not take it seriously. From work point of view, there are times where I will be on the motorway and I'll be sat in traffic, and I might have got up extra early to get to where I need to go, and I still hit traffic. And 1 minute I'll be getting really riled up with it. I'm going, oh my God, every day I'm on this motorway, and it doesn't matter what time I set off, I'm always going to be sat in it. I'm not going to get to where I need to be on time. It's going to push me back. I'll probably be home late. I'll probably sit in it going back home. And then just to notice all that thinking and just go, actually, I laughed about it the other week. I was just like, actually, I'm just sat in traffic.
Yeah, that's a simple fact. It's what's actually happening is I'm sat in a traffic jam. What I'm experiencing is whatever I'm thinking about that in the moment.
Yeah, nothing I can do about it.
And then you wake up, and then you woke up and was like, oh, actually, all that's going on is that I'm sitting in a traffic jam.
Yeah, just laughed out loud about it, and that's the kind of the other thing for me. Whenever I'm off, whenever I am off track, as soon as I tune back in to what I'm doing, not kind of like, oh, must tune back in kind of thing, but just know, oh, there's a lot of noise going on up here, we'll just leave it. I'll always kind of come back with this smile, like just a great feeling of like, oh, wow, it feels good, and it's not even like a forced smile, it's just a natural kind of smile that appears, and here I am.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing what the human mind can do, isn't it? That's why I think that's why you get that smile. But what I love, and you said it earlier as well, actually, is that like even when you're off, even when you're struggling, or even when you're thinking that there's a problem, or you're getting all grumpy or whatever. But even being in that state isn't really a problem anymore.
No.
And that's the big thing, right? It's because if like you talked about it when you were lying in bed at night, and you said sometimes still I'll lie in bed and I'll hear the traffic going past and I'll get all like up in my head about it. And then I realise, but before that you'd have said, I'm all this traffic going on in my head and it's a real problem, and then I feel panicky and I feel anxious and I hate it, and you do feel all that, but just like for a fraction of the time that you would have done before, and then you wake up and, oh, there it is again. I did it again.
Yeah, the traffic now is more of a thought. It's not even the traffic coming into my head. It's a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leave it alone. It'll pass. And then starting to see that. So, rather than the noise that's coming, it's like it's the thought that's coming, and it's going to shift on. That changed everything.
Well, thank you, James, for sharing your story today. And I would not have known you'd lost your sense of humour, because one of the things that I was a bit apprehensive about when I started the Facebook group for our program was that there's going to be lots of it's going to be a hard work group, because everyone's going to be really anxious and everyone's going to be really nervous and everyone's going to be reporting about how anxious they feel all of the time. And little did I know that you and all your cohort that would start in the group would just come in with such amazing mental health and just joke your way through the whole of the whole of the 12-week program, and just create such a warm, loving, upbeat environment that I think has set the tone for the whole group going forward. So, and I know you're a ringleader in that. Like, I'd go away for a week and I'd come back and I'm like, you guys, you're supposed to have anxiety, you know. You've been having far too much fun. And not, if you're listening, not in a flippant way, but just in a way that's like, that's what I love about our Facebook group, is it's full of mental health, right?
Yeah.
And people sharing and supporting each other and being funny and sending around the crap bus for people who are having a bad day and all that kind of thing. So, and you've been the ringleader of that. So thank you.
No, it's such a good group.
It's cool.
And just to have that kind of joke and that fun, and to see the fun side of everyone. You can some of the posts that the guys put on now, you can see the humor in it, even when they might not see that there is. It's fascinating. So such a great group. Well,
thank you very much for your honesty and openness and sharing. I know you're going to do great things sharing what it is that you've seen already amongst my clients, and also where you work and the people you bump into.
If you're curious to find out more about what I've been talking about on this episode, the best place to start is to go to alittlepeaceofmind.co.uk, and there you'll find my audio, Freedom from Anxiety, and you can listen to that. Is the best place to start to get some of this understanding into your own bones, so it can start making a difference to your life. Until next time, I'll speak to you later.